This is the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashani Silva. On today's episode, it's all about jazz great Anita O'Day, her life and times, and best hits. So, Anita O'Day, a singer who won fame for her rhythm and vocals and interpretations of ballads and her scat singing. She mainly took over the jazz scene in the bebop and swing era, went on to inspire countless singers who came after her, from Helen Merrill to June Christie to Chris Connor. When she won a ballroom dance contest in 1930, that kick-started her music career full-time. That's also when she changed her name from Colton to O'Day. At 19, she was singing professionally in clubs across Chicago. 1941, she recorded her first big hit with the Gene Krupa Band, a collaboration with Roy Aldrich called Let Me Off Uptown. She also made waves for her views on feminism. She would typically appear on stage in a jacket and skirt instead of the traditional gown and gloves which was common to female singers of her era. She went on singing with Gene Krupa's band till 1943. 1945, she went on to perform alongside the Stan Kenton Band. 1946, she rejoined Gene Krupa's band briefly before embarking on a solo career in 1947. Throughout the 1950s, Anita O'Day produced some hallmark albums and won herself a name as one of the leading jazz singers of her day and age. She toured with clubs and her own small ensembles. She also made a name for herself in Japan when she toured there in 1964. Now, at the time, she was having trouble getting standard record labels to accept her for a unique type of artistry, so she took to making her own music on independent labels. Some of her highlights in her later career include her concert and club tours, a concert in Carnegie Hall to commemorate 50 years in jazz, and performances at the Vine Street Bar and Grill in Los Angeles in 1992. In 2008, there was a documentary made about her called Anita O'Day, The Life of a Jazz Singer, that won a 2008 Satellite Award from the International Press Academy. So on today's episode of the Jazz Update, it's all about Anita O'Day, her life and times, and best hits. We'll be right back after a short break to the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashani Silva. On today's episode, it's all about jazz great Anita O'Day, her life and times, and best hits. There's very few female singers to date who can match her rhythm, her vocals, and her unique style that she exhibited in her career. She was more than just a big band singer. She had this impeccable style and flair for her music that encompassed all areas of jazz. She strove to bring a touch of the poet into her singing. Both lyrics and vocals were equally important in her singing. So she started out in 1940, recorded her first long play around that time. Then she started adjusting her singing style to include bop modernism into it. She recorded over a dozen of the best vocal LPs in that era. During the 40s, she recorded 24 sides for small labels, and in these recordings one sees how she was trying to achieve popular success without sacrificing her unique identity as a jazz singer. Now here's some notable recordings from that time. Hi Ho Trailer's Boot Whip, Key Largo, How High the Moon, and Malaguena. In 1948, she had a big break when she collaborated with the Count Basie Orchestra in a concert performance at the Royal Roost. That resulted in a resurgence of her popularity. But what really put her in the spotlight was the albums that she recorded with Verve Records in the 50s through the 60s. She made her first big debut of that sort with her album Anita O'Day Sings Jazz, a massive success that shone her spotlight on her vocals and lyric interpretations. Her second album release came shortly after that in 1954, when she recorded Songs by Anita O'Day. Throughout the 50s, she would record such albums, mostly with her small bands and combos. She also hosted live performances. She collaborated with other jazz greats like Louis Armstrong, Oscar Peterson, Dinah Washington, George Shearing, Cal Tjader, and Thelonious Monk, some of the names in those performances. Her popularity soared with another iconic performance at the Newport Jazz Festival in 1958. Another highlight in 1959, when she made a cameo appearance in the Gene Krupa story singing Memories of You. In 1959, she toured Europe with musician Benny Goodman. In 1962, her contract with Verve Records expired and she began to record less frequently. Then in 1970, she made a comeback for a short time at the Berlin Jazz Festival. Also, she would appear in films at the time like Zigzag and The Outfit. In later years, she produced her own label, Emily Records, made a lot of live and studio albums during that time. Anita O'Day died in 2006, leaving behind a legacy that few could parallel. So on today's episode of the Jazz Update, it's all about jazz great Anita O'Day, her life and times, and best music. You're tuned into the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashani Silva. We're going for a short break, but we'll be right back after that. Jazz Update with Jashani Silva. Now it's time to talk about some trending festival news. So next year there's a massive appearance in Miami. The Montreux Jazz Festival is coming to town. Now this festival's a big highlight. Sparks off on March 1st, 2024. Grammy-winning artist John Battisti takes a stage on that day, and this one's one of the most iconic festivals in the jazz calendar, a must-visit festival. It's the second largest festival in the world behind the Montreal Jazz Festival and arguably more famous. The story of the Montreux Jazz Festival begins in 1967 in Geneva. It was originally focused on featuring only jazz talent. Names that have toured over the years include Bill Evans, Keith Jarrett, and The Weather Report. In 1970, it expanded its sweep of musicians, included singers like Church Berry, Eric Clapton, Talk Talk, Gilberto Gil, Johnny Cash, and Prince. Today it takes place over 16 days and hosts 250,000 attendees during its run. Now typically this festival is held in the French town of Montreux in Switzerland, but this time they're announcing a new event in Miami next year. One of the highlights of the show is the Grammy-winning artist John Battisti. He's also famous for being the band leader for The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. So he's taking the stage on March 1st. The full lineup is going to be secret until January, but there are two headliner acts to look out for. Singer-songwriter Daniela Mercury, a major star in her home country of Brazil. She's sold more than 11 million records worldwide, and she's going to be performing on Saturday, March 2nd. Sunday, March 3rd, showcases Daryl Hall, the singer from the band Hall & Oates. More highlights of the festival: music masterclasses and a jam session. So if you're interested in attending the Montreux Jazz Festival, please visit Tixr.com to purchase your tickets. That's Tixr.com to purchase your tickets. You can choose from single day tickets at $199, that's for general audiences, or $699 tickets for VIPs. So that's some updates on festivals around the corner, and you're tuned into the Weekend Jazz Update with Jashani Silva. We're going for a short break, but we'll be right back after that. When we come back, we're going to be talking about Anita O'Day's greatest hits. Stay tuned.